Scientists detected a colossal underwater sound that traveled across 3,000 miles of ocean in 1997, spawning decades of theories about massive unknown creatures before revealing a truth that's even more unsettling than the mystery itself. Picture this. You're a marine scientist working the night shift at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in 1997. It's a quiet summer evening, and you're monitoring an array of underwater microphones scattered across the Pacific Ocean. These hydrophones were originally placed there during the Cold War to listen for enemy submarines, but now they serve a different purpose. They're our ears into the ocean's deepest secrets. Suddenly, at 9:15 a.m. Pacific Time on June 15th, something happens that will haunt scientists for the next 8 years. A sound begins to emerge from your monitoring equipment. Not just any sound, but something so massive, so profound, that it can be heard across 3,000 miles of ocean. The frequency is ultra-low, far below what human ears can detect, but when you speed it up and play it back, it sounds like this, a deep, otherworldly bloop that seems to rise from the very depths of the Earth itself. You've been monitoring these waters for years, and you've never heard anything like it. The sound originates from coordinates 50 degrees south, 100 degrees west, a remote stretch of the Pacific Ocean west of the southern tip of South America. It lasts for just over a minute, but in that brief time, it creates one of the most compelling underwater mysteries of our time. What could possibly create a sound so loud that it travels thousands of miles through the densest medium on our planet? And why has nothing like it been heard before or since? But before we dive into the theories and speculation, let me show you just how extraordinary the detection system that captured this sound really was. Let me start by painting you a picture of just how extraordinary this sound really was. The hydrophone network that detected the bloop wasn't some casual listening post. It was part of the Sound Surveillance System, or SOSUS, a multi-billion-dollar network of underwater microphones that the US Navy deployed across the world's oceans during the Cold War. These weren't ordinary microphones. Each hydrophone array consists of dozens of sensors capable of detecting sounds at frequencies far below what any living creature can hear. They're so sensitive that they can pick up the sound of a submarine's propeller from hundreds of miles away. During the Cold War, this network was classified at the highest levels of government. Naval officers would spend their entire careers listening to the ocean's secrets through these devices, tracking Soviet submarines and protecting American interests. But by 1997, with the Cold War over, NOAA had begun using this network for scientific research. Scientists could now listen to whale songs across entire ocean basins, track the movement of ships around the globe, and monitor underwater volcanic activity. It was like having superhuman hearing that could reach into every corner of the ocean. When the bloop occurred, it triggered multiple hydrophone arrays simultaneously. Remember, these sensors are separated by thousands of miles, yet they all detected the same sound at nearly the same time. For sound to travel that far underwater, it needs an enormous amount of energy. We're talking about acoustic power that dwarfs anything in the animal kingdom. To put this in perspective, the loudest sound ever recorded from a living creature is the call of a blue whale, which can reach 188 decibels and travel for hundreds of miles. But the bloop was detected across distances that would require at least 10 times that power. No known animal could produce such a sound. Here's where the mystery deepened. The frequency profile of the bloop was unlike anything in NOAA's databases. When marine biologists analyze animal sounds, they look for specific patterns. The complex harmonics of whale songs, the clicking patterns of dolphins, the low-frequency moans of fin whales. Each species has its own acoustic signature, as distinct as a fingerprint. But the bloop didn't match any known biological pattern. It wasn't the complex, musical sound of a whale. It wasn't the mechanical noise of human machinery. It wasn't the chaotic rumble of an earthquake or volcanic eruption. It was something entirely different. A single, powerful sound that rose in frequency over about a minute, then disappeared completely. Dr. Christopher Fox, the NOAA scientist who first analyzed the bloop, would spend years trying to solve this puzzle. But the location where it originated only made the mystery deeper. Dr. Christopher Fox, the NOAA scientist who first analyzed the bloop, spent months trying to categorize it. He compared it to every sound in their archives, whale calls from around the world, recordings of submarines, earthquakes, underwater landslides, even nuclear explosions. Nothing matched. The sound appeared to originate from one of the most remote areas of the Pacific Ocean, a region known as Point Nemo, the oceanic pole of inaccessibility. This is the spot on Earth that's furthest from any land in any direction. It's over 1,600 miles from the nearest coastline, and the ocean floor there drops to depths of over 13,000 feet. Think about that location for a moment. Point Nemo is so isolated that the closest human beings are often astronauts aboard the International Space Station, orbiting 250 miles overhead. If something large enough to create the bloop lived in those waters, where could it hide? How could it have avoided detection by the thousands of ships that have crossed those waters over the centuries? This is what made the bloop so captivating to the public imagination. Here was a sound that seemed to come from nowhere, created by nothing we could identify, in one of the most mysterious places on our planet. It was like receiving a radio signal from deep space, proof that something was out there, but no idea what it could be. The theories began almost immediately. Marine biologists wondered if it could be an unknown species of whale, perhaps a giant squid communicating across vast distances, or even a surviving population of some prehistoric creature that had remained hidden in the deep ocean trenches. Cryptozoologists seized on the bloop as potential evidence for sea monsters. H.P. Lovecraft fans noted that the coordinates of the bloop were remarkably close to the fictional location of Relia, the sunken city where Cthulhu was said to slumber. Online forums exploded with speculation about giant creatures stirring in the depths. But the scientists at NOAA weren't satisfied with speculation. They had a mystery on their hands, and they were determined to solve it using the scientific method. What they didn't realize was that the bloop would lead them down a path of discovery that would change everything. The first major breakthrough came in 2002, 5 years after the original detection. NOAA scientists had been continuously monitoring the hydrophone networks, hoping to detect another occurrence of the bloop or something similar. They didn't find the bloop again, but they did find something equally interesting. Dozens of similar sounds coming from the same general region of the ocean. These new sounds had the same basic characteristics as the bloop. They were ultra-low frequency, they could be detected across vast distances, and they seemed to originate from the remote waters of the Southern Ocean. But unlike the bloop, these sounds occurred regularly, sometimes multiple times per day. Dr. Fox and his team began to map these occurrences, looking for patterns. What they discovered was remarkable. The sounds weren't random. They clustered around specific locations, and they appeared to be seasonal. Most occurred during the Antarctic summer months, from November through February. This seasonal pattern was the first real clue to solving the mystery. What happens in the Southern Ocean during the Antarctic summer that could create these massive acoustic events? The answer lies in one of the most spectacular and poorly understood phenomena on our planet: the calving of massive icebergs from the Antarctic ice sheet. During the summer months, as temperatures rise and ocean currents shift, enormous sections of ice, some the size of small states, break away from the continent and begin their journey into the open ocean. But here's what makes this so extraordinary. When an iceberg the size of Rhode Island cracks away from an ice shelf that's been stable for thousands of years, it doesn't do so quietly. The acoustic energy released is enormous, equivalent to a major earthquake, but occurring in a medium that conducts sound far more efficiently than solid rock. When NOAA scientists began correlating their acoustic detections with satellite imagery of Antarctic ice shelves, the pattern became clear. Every major sound event corresponded with a significant ice calving event somewhere along the Antarctic coast. The bigger the iceberg, the louder the sound. By 2005, NOAA had accumulated enough data to make their official determination. The bloop and the dozens of similar sounds they had detected were indeed created by ice calving events in Antarctica. The specific event that created the bloop was likely the breaking away of an enormous iceberg from one of the major ice shelves along the Antarctic peninsula. But solving the mystery of the bloop was just the beginning. What scientists discovered next would reveal something far more significant about our changing planet. But why had no one made this connection before 1997? The answer reveals something troubling about the pace of change in Antarctica. Large-scale ice calving events were relatively rare before the 1990s. The ice shelves of Antarctica had been relatively stable for centuries, perhaps millennia. But beginning in the 1990s, the frequency and scale of these calving events began to increase dramatically. The bloop, it turns out, wasn't just a scientific curiosity. It was one of the first acoustic signatures of accelerating ice loss in Antarctica. When that massive sound echoed across 3,000 miles of ocean in 1997, it was the planet itself telling us that something fundamental was changing in one of its most important climate systems. Scientists began using the hydrophone network to study ice dynamics in ways that had never been possible before. They could now hear Antarctica changing in real time, detecting calving events as they happened and correlating them with climate data, ocean temperatures, and atmospheric conditions. What they discovered was both fascinating and concerning. The acoustic signature of each calving event tells a story about the ice that created it. The frequency and duration of the sound reveal information about the size and thickness of the iceberg. The way the sound propagates through the water provides clues about ocean temperature and salinity. It's like having a stethoscope that can listen to the pulse of an entire continent. Dr. Fox and his colleagues realized they had stumbled onto a new field of research: ice acoustics. By listening to the sounds of Antarctica, they could monitor ice sheet stability across the entire continent simultaneously, something that would be impossible using traditional methods like satellite imagery or ground-based sensors. This research has revealed some startling findings. The frequency of major calving events in Antarctica has increased by over 200% since the 1990s. Some ice shelves that had been stable for thousands of years are now producing acoustic events multiple times per year. The sounds are getting louder and more frequent, suggesting that larger and larger sections of ice are becoming unstable. Think about the implications of this for a moment. The bloop was like a canary in a coal mine, an early warning signal of changes that would have profound implications for our planet's climate system. Those ice shelves in Antarctica aren't just frozen water sitting harmlessly at the bottom of the world. They're massive buttresses that hold back continental glaciers containing enough ice to raise global sea levels by over 200 feet. The story of the bloop doesn't end with climate science. It opened up entirely new ways of listening to our planet. The solution to the bloop mystery has opened up entirely new areas of research in marine acoustics. Scientists now know that the ocean is full of sounds they never suspected existed. Ice calving events, underwater landslides, the movement of massive ocean currents, the settling of seafloor sediments. All of these create acoustic signatures that we can detect and analyze. We've discovered that the ocean has its own soundscape, as complex and dynamic as any terrestrial ecosystem. Whales and dolphins have evolved to communicate within this soundscape, timing their calls to avoid interference from natural acoustic events. Ships and submarines navigate through this acoustic environment, often without realizing the symphony of natural sounds that surrounds them. The technology developed to analyze the bloop has also found applications in earthquake monitoring, tsunami warning systems, and even the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. If we can detect the sound of an iceberg calving 3,000 miles away, what else might we be able to hear in the depths of space? Perhaps most importantly, the bloop has taught us to listen more carefully to our planet. For too long, we've studied Earth as if it were a silent, static system. But our planet is constantly speaking to us, through the sounds of its oceans, the rhythms of its ice sheets, the whispers of its atmosphere. We just needed to learn how to listen. Every time I hear that haunting sound, that deep, otherworldly bloop rising from the depths, I'm reminded that our planet still holds mysteries we're only just beginning to understand. The bloop wasn't the call of some ancient sea monster awakening from slumber. It was something far more significant. The sound of our planet changing, crying out across thousands of miles of ocean, telling us that the ice at the ends of the earth was beginning to sing its swan song. The real mystery isn't what created the bloop. The real mystery is what other signals our planet is sending us that we haven't learned to hear yet. In the depths of our oceans, in the movements of our ice sheets, in the very foundations of our climate system, Earth is constantly communicating. The bloop taught us that if we know how to listen, we might just hear the planet telling us its most important secrets. So the next time someone tells you that the bloop was just an iceberg, remember this. That iceberg was the size of a small country. It had been stable for potentially thousands of years, and when it finally broke free, it created a sound that traveled across half an ocean. That's not just anything. That's the sound of a planet in transition, speaking to us in frequencies we never knew existed, telling us stories we're only now learning how to understand. What do you think? Has this changed how you hear the ocean? What other mysteries might be hiding in the acoustic landscape of our planet?